The UFC is sending a massive message that has the entire MMA world talking. Tom Aspinall versus Ciryl disaster at UFC 321, a championship fight that ended in chaos, a heavyweight champion who can't see. What the hell is going on? Tom Aspinall eats dinner with family and enjoys life with eye poke. Is the eye poke real or drama the fare of losing the fight? Years ago, Tom Aspinall training partner Ante Delija did this eye poke drama, and his opponent wanted to continue and win the fight. Is this a legitimate injury or is something else going on? The UFC seems to have their own opinion, and trust me, you're not going to believe what happens next. Stay tuned. Let's set the scene. UFC 321 in Abu Dhabi. Tom Aspinall, the British heavyweight champion, finally back in the octagon after 15 months away. His opponent, the dangerous French striker Ciryl.
About as anticlimactic as it gets.
No contest, unintentional foul.
No contest, unintentional foul. Yeah. Jason Herzog calls it a no contest, which means Tom Aspinall will retain his title.
Hey.
My God.
It's an accident. Hey, come here.
Cyril disappointed, and he was fighting a wonderful first round.
The fight barely gets started. We're towards the end of round one when, boom, Gane throws a punch and his fingers go straight into both of Aspinall's eyes. A double eye poke that changes everything. Aspinall immediately stops. He tells the doctor he can't see. The referee calls it. No contest. Fight over. Championship retained by default.
That's totally it with me.
Yeah, it just puts everything into perspective. Like when we're going in, I can't see. Well, it's a dangerous sport, man.
You were saying it's scarier than what you did to your leg.
It's way scarier than what I did to my knee, because you know that the knee's just going to be all right, whereas your eye, still don't know how it's going to be.
Now here's where it gets interesting, folks. The crowd, they're booing. The fans online, they're divided. And Aspinall himself is in the octagon saying, quote, "Guys, I just got poked knuckle deep in the eyeball. Why are you booing? I can't see."
Guys, I just got fucking poked knuckle deep in the eyeball. What the fuck? Why are you booing? What am I supposed to do about it? I didn't do the fucking poke. I can't see.
But the controversy doesn't end there, not even close. So what does the UFC do? Do they support their champion? Do they give him time to recover? Well, not exactly. Top UFC referee Herb Dean has just revealed that the organization is holding an emergency meeting specifically about this incident. And get this, it's happening on November 4th. They're discussing the eye poke situation, and according to Dean, quote, "Enough people are fed up. Something is going to be done."
Well, first of all, I think enough people are, fed up with the eye poke situation that something is going to be done. The thing with changing rules,
But here's the kicker. Dean also dropped a bombshell in his interview with Helen Yee Sports. He revealed that retired fighters have admitted to him that their eye pokes were intentional. Dean says, and I quote, "Once they've retired, they're telling me, oh yeah, that fight when you refereed me, that was intentional."
And these are guys who have, once they've retired, they're giving me, oh yeah, that fight when you refereed me, that was intentional when that happened. You know what I mean?
So now the question everyone's asking, is the UFC investigating Gane? Are they investigating Aspinall? What exactly is this meeting about? And fans are not holding back. Social media is exploding with theories. Some are calling for Gane to be disqualified, others want him suspended, and then there's the group saying Aspinall quit because he was losing the round.
Wouldn't it be interesting if Tom came out and said, "No, I'm not going to rematch him. He's a cheater." Why would I rematch a guy that already cheated, that violated not one of my eyes, but both? I gave him his chance. He chose to cheat, and I'm going to move on. If Tom took that stance, which he's not going to do, I'm saying, but for fun, I think he'd have a lot of people that supported him. For some reason, Ciryl has come out of this thing with his hands clean. He's the one that did the poking.
The UFC's silence on exactly WHO they're targeting with this meeting, that's sending a message all on its own. But wait, it gets even more suspicious. Because just 1 week after Aspinall's controversial ending, his training partner Ante Delija was involved in an identical situation. Delija is fighting Waldo Cortes-Acosta. He lands a huge combo, his opponent goes down, Delija celebrates thinking he won. But the referee says, wait, that was an eye poke. Give Cortes time to recover. And what happens? Cortes recovers and knocks Delija out.
Took one in the eye.
Was it a punch?
I haven't seen Mark Schmidt wave his hands over his head. I'm going to say, look over at Herb Dean, who's the review official. I don't want to join the crowd. Cortes-Acosta, big right hand.
It's out.
Wow. Do you believe what just happened inside the UFC Apex? Knockout. Well done.
Now Delija is furious. He's claiming the rules were broken, that replay was used illegally, that his opponent sat and relaxed while watching footage. He says, the sport hasn't seen this yet, so now people are connecting the dots. Aspinall's teammate involved in an eye poke controversy just days later, and then Cortes-Acosta, the guy who beat Delija, calls out Aspinall saying, I am coming for you, and claims he only had 20% vision after the poke. Coincidence? The MMA community doesn't think so. Twitter is blowing up with conspiracy theories about Aspinall's training camp and their approach to eye pokes. Now, let's talk about the medical side, because this is where things get really controversial. Aspinall's father, Andy, gave an update days after the fight. He says Tom, quote, still can't see anything from his right eye. It's just gray. His left eye is 50% vision. Blurry, the muscles aren't working properly. They need CT scans to check if the bone is damaged.
They basically did the same as the guy that we saw over there. Said, it's bad, it's not good, but his eye is a little bit more closed than it was. His right eye still can't see anything. Said it's just grey. Tested him on words and he just couldn't see anything. His left eye, 50%, he went down about 4 letters and then couldn't see the letters. So one's really blurry and one's still not working. His eye wasn't following properly, so the muscles weren't working strong enough to go this way. This one just wasn't working. The fight should have been stopped. He couldn't see. If you commit a foul with an eye poke, the referee just says, don't do it. He could have lost his sight. Still not got his sight in one eye. We don't know, we're still waiting.
Sounds serious, right? But here's where the UFC and fans are divided. A doctor, Brian Sutterer, analyzed the footage and says the injury is 100% legitimate, and anyone claiming Aspinall faked it is spreading absolute, complete nonsense.
That he was trying to duck Gane and that he knew he was going to lose anyway, so he just claimed he couldn't see. Absolute, complete nonsense. There is nothing about what we saw here that should be regarded as him faking this or making this up. I don't care that one of his eyes was open during the interview. There is nothing about this that should be interpreted as him making an excuse or trying to get out of the fight.
But, and this is a big but, people are pointing out inconsistencies. Why was Aspinall able to open one eye during the Octagon interview? How come he could see well enough to argue with the referee? And here's the comparison that has everyone talking. Back in 2019, Jeremy Stephens got a 180-day suspension after an eye poke from Yair Rodriguez. But Stephens got cleared by an ophthalmologist and was back fighting in less than a month. So is Aspinall's injury really that much worse? Or is this about something else entirely? The UFC's planned meeting suggests they might be asking the same questions. Here's where the controversy reaches its peak. The UFC is now looking at a potential massive suspension for Tom Aspinall. We're talking possibly 180 days. That's 6 months on the sidelines. Henry Cejudo got an indefinite suspension earlier this year for an eye injury. He couldn't fight until cleared by an ophthalmologist.
Name someone who won 2 world titles and a gold medal in the Olympics in wrestling and did it all in the most technical of divisions.
I'm not saying I'm the best fighter in the world because I'm not, man. I would even put Demetrius Johnson in front of me, even though I do have a win over him. I wasn't the best wrestler, even though I was an Olympic champion. But when you collaborate both of my accolades that I've done in sports, that's where the greatest combat athlete of all time comes.
Dana White said they want to book the rematch as soon as possible, potentially for the new Paramount deal in January or for UFC 323 in December. But if this suspension comes through, those plans are dead. And here's the message the UFC is really sending. Whether Aspinall's injury is legitimate or not, they're not going to let this situation slide. The emergency meeting, the talk of rule changes, the potential suspension, it's all adding up to one thing. The UFC is making an example out of this situation.
This is not boxing.
UFC.
Hey man,
What is UFC? It's martial arts, right?
Yeah, in a cage.
Include like this?
Well, no, that's illegal.
That's illegal, right?
Yes.
You're not supposed to do that.
When Dana White was in here, he didn't seem over the moon about the idea of you fighting at heavyweight.
I don't know. There's still fights here in this division, but we'll see. I mean,
if you could send a message to him, I'm sure you'll have meetings and stuff, but what would your pitch be to move up to heavyweight?
Não precisa. A gente teve conversa lá atrás.
No need. We already talked backstage.
What did he say?
O que ele falou?
Segredo.
It's a secret.
I think at 38 years old, he does have the time to go to heavyweight because, as we know, those guys do have a longer career. So I think when you've got Carlos Ulberg there, who's on an 8 or 9 fight win streak, who's knocking people out the way that he has, I would like to see that. A guy that's as big as him, that's as tall as him, that on paper has the kickboxing credentials to be able to challenge him. You know, that'd be a fun fight to see. I mean, let's be honest, Carlos Ulberg deserves it. Yuri Prochazka, we love Yuri, right? There's not a man alive that watches this sport that isn't obsessed with Yuri Prochazka, and I would love to see him get a third matchup. And we're going to talk about his fight with Khalil in a little bit. But after what I saw versus Khalil, I don't want to throw him in against Pereira just now. He's fought him twice. It's hard to get a third fight against the guy. We did see a lot of openings. We did see a lot of typical Yuri madness, but I don't think it would have got to the third round or the closing minutes of the fight with Alex Pereira, so let Yuri do his full crazy stuff. I think the next fight is Carlos Ulberg, and then, yeah, by all means, let the man go up to heavyweight. He said that he wanted Jon Jones. He did a little interview last night after the fight. He said he doesn't want the winner of Ciryl-Gane and Aspinall. He wants Jon Jones at the White House.
Alex Pereira drops the massive bombshell message on Dana, and he made it clear. I want a UFC heavyweight fight with Jon Jones. He said Alex Pereira says that he spoke with Dana White backstage about his desire to move up to the heavyweight division. We already talked backstage. It's a secret. Is he exposing his truth and also dealing with UFC? Can Jon Jones be back in the UFC White House?
Most probable matchup next. You got Carlos Ulberg, you got Yuri Prochazka. You also have heavyweight.
Heavyweight.
Well, we got Aspinall and Ciryl-Gane.
No, I want a super fight.
Jon Jones
at the White House. We've both done a lot in the sport, and I feel like even if he were to lose to me, he's still the greatest of all time. Essa é a melhor aposta.
Não, queria super luta.
No, I want a super fight.
Oh, super fight at heavyweight.
I can think of one.
Wow,
name.
Derek Lewis.
It's Aspinall, man.
Bom, não sei se... Pô, Casa Branca, Jon Jones.
Jon Jones.
Super luta.
At the White House.
Jon Jones. That's a super fight.
All right, so he's...
If you're new here, hit that subscribe button because today we're diving into the biggest story in MMA right now. Alex Pereira just confirmed secret negotiations with Dana White about a heavyweight move, and Jon Jones is the target. Let's break down everything you need to know.
Ui, essa aí, meu irmão. Porra, aqui por dentro e o outro fora. Tava esperto ali. Pode estar por dentro. Entendeu? Mas tá movimentando, foi difícil. Aí parou, chutei. Essa aí já foi uma. Agora, de novo, ó. Oi! Aí já sentiu legal. Porque uma sentiu mesmo, lá. Aí agora quando eu chutar a terceira, já vai virar, já virou. Trocou. Aí eu chutei, ó, pegou só um pontinho no pé, ó, tá vendo? Bem parando. Pô, pegou aqui, ó,
O Ali falou assim. Aí, vou te falar que quebrou as duas costelas ali, meu irmão.
Sai que nem o Alessandro assim agora, ó.
Fresh off his devastating 80-second knockout of Magomed Ankalaev at UFC 320 to reclaim the light heavyweight championship, Alex Pereira dropped a quote that has the entire MMA world talking. When asked about moving to heavyweight, Poatan revealed, "We already talked backstage. It's a secret."
Jon Jones versus Alex Pereira for the BMF at heavyweight. Yes, I said it. It makes sense. It makes perfect sense. You want to have an American headline in White House. You want to do it with the greatest of all time. Jon's not going to fight Tom Aspinall. That's fine. Alex Pereira's been calling this fight. He's a bigger name than Tom Aspinall. And what he was able to do to Magomed Ankalaev, I remember talking to Jon, and Jon was like, dude, I just want super fights. Maybe you can have Tom as a co-main against somebody, against Francis Ngannou. You know, Francis is about to become a free agent.
I like where
Kush.
your head's at today, Henry. Every star you have are saying, yes, I want to fight. And I haven't said it yet, Dana, but you know, you want to call me. Yeah, I'm down too.
The UFC's probably going to go the route of Pereira and Jones, and I'm not mad at that either.
This isn't speculation anymore, folks. Pereira is confirming that he and Dana White have had private discussions about a heavyweight move. But here's where the story gets even more interesting. During his post-fight interview with Joe Rogan, Pereira had a completely different plan. At the post-fight press conference, he admitted, "With all the respect, I was going to ask for Jon Jones at the White House, but with everything that has happened, it's not the right time to talk about it."
It sounded like maybe before everything happened with Jon Jones in his personal life, you were maybe planning a call out of him.
Você falou que é uma super luta, isso seria o campeão do Aspinall contra o Ciryl-Gane, ou apesar de tudo que aconteceu com o Jon Jones, esse era o plano, era pedir o Jon Jones?
Bom, só vou falar aqui uma vez só na pergunta dele, não quero mais falar sobre isso, né, com todo o respeito do Jon Jones, tudo que aconteceu. Não quero que depois... tem muitas pessoas aqui, eu já falei isso lá atrás, né, falei, pelo amor de Deus, tô falando com todo o respeito e gostaria que vocês me respeitassem também. Mas sim, esse era o meu plano, né, de estar chamando o Jon Jones, de estar lutando na Casa Branca, né, mas com tudo que aconteceu, eu tenho que tomar cuidado como que eu falo, né, então eu peço, pelo amor de Deus, que vocês não criem caso com isso.
I'll answer his question and I'll answer this subject one time, and you know, I with all due respect, with all the respect I have for the situation, and I've said this in the back, you know, a lot of people try to create a lot of stuff around this. So again, please, with all the respect, I was gonna ask for Jon Jones in the White House, but with everything that happened, it's not the right time to talk about it.
Pereira was referring to the tragic passing of Jon Jones's brother, Arthur Jones, just days before UFC 320. Instead of making his planned call-out, Pereira showed incredible class by calling for a moment of silence. That gesture of respect even prompted Jon Jones to break his social media silence, tweeting, "Wow, Alex." So what do we know now? Pereira has been planning this heavyweight move. He's targeting Jon Jones specifically, and most importantly, he's already in negotiations with Dana White behind closed doors. The question becomes, what exactly are they discussing, and is this deal going to happen?
If you did go to heavyweight, we're seeing now a lot that the champions have to vacate their belt when they're moving up. Are you willing to part ways with that title if you go to heavyweight?
Você indo para o peso pesado, a gente está vendo que os campeões que mudam de categoria estão tendo que deixar o cinturão vago. Você está disposto a fazer isso?
Não, acho que não é necessário. Todo mundo sabe a frequência que eu luto, então isso não vai ser problema.
I don't think that's needed. Everyone knows how often I fight, so that's not going to be an issue.
When Dana White was in here, he didn't seem over the moon about the idea of you fighting at heavyweight. If you could send a message to him, I'm sure you'll have meetings and stuff, but what would your pitch be to move up to heavyweight?
Quando o Dana estava aqui, ele não parecia tão empolgado com essa ideia, né? Mas se você pudesse mandar um recado, claro que você vai ter uma reunião, mas se puder mandar um recado para o Dana.
Não precisa. A gente já teve conversa lá atrás.
No need. We already talked backstage.
What did he say?
O que ele falou?
Segredo.
It's a secret.
Now, let's talk about the massive elephant in the room. The UFC White House card scheduled for June 2026. This isn't just another fight night. This is being positioned as the most historic card in UFC history, celebrating America's 250th birthday on President Trump's birthday. Dana White has promised the biggest fights ever assembled for this event, and fighters across the entire roster are desperate to be on this card. Jon Jones himself came out of retirement after this event was announced. That tells you everything about the magnitude of this moment.
But you know what's the most important? 250 years is the most important, above World Cup, above Olympic. But we got them all coming. And on June 14th, next year, we're going to have a big UFC fight at the White House, right at the White House, on the grounds of the White House.
The White House timeline also works perfectly for both fighters. It gives Pereira time to heal from the suspected broken foot he suffered during the Ankalaev fight, and it gives Jones ample preparation time, which could be crucial. According to AI Fight predictions, with full preparation time for the White House card, Jones would have a significantly better chance of winning compared to a quick turnaround fight. The pieces are all on the board. The The question is whether Dana White will put them together.
Why not fight against Pereira, a guy who's the same age as you, and we walk around the same exact size? Pereira walks around at like 240, and he has magnificent accolades. Business-wise, it makes more sense. Fight the nobody that may be more dangerous, or fight the guy with all the accolades who's incredibly dangerous.
But here's the complication. Dana White isn't fully sold on this fight, at least not publicly. After UFC 320, Dana made his position clear. While I'm not against him moving up, I believe there are still compelling fights for him at 205 pounds. Dana has legitimate concerns that can't be ignored. First, there's the size difference. Dana has repeatedly stated that Jon Jones is simply a much bigger man than Pereira. Jones could never make 185 pounds like Pereira did in his middleweight days. Even though both fight around light heavyweight, Jones walks around significantly heavier and carries more mass at heavyweight.
What is your hesitation about him going up to heavyweight? He's mentioned it a few times in the past. He always wanted that Jon Jones fight, and I understand why maybe that fight wasn't appealing to you, but what is your reservations about sending him to heavyweight at this point?
Probably that he was a middleweight. He was a middleweight, and he's going to jump up 2 weight classes in the UFC. It's not like jumping up 2 weight classes in boxing. It's a big jump. Not that I have any reservations about it. I mean, the guy is he's in a division that there's still some interesting fights. I don't know. It's just I like the guy so much. We'll see. We'll have to talk about it. I just don't see why, unless he wants to retire, why throwing him in at heavyweight makes any sense. Other than I just end up saying he wants to do it so bad. I'll just say yes. I don't know.
Second, there's the light heavyweight division to consider. Carlos Ulberg is waiting as the clear #1 contender. The UFC has invested in building that storyline. Does Pereira just abandon the division after one defense? But Pereira has a strong counter-argument. When asked if he'd need to vacate, he responded, "I don't think that's needed. Everyone knows how often I fight, so that's not going to be an issue." And he's absolutely right. Pereira fights more frequently than almost any champion in modern UFC history. He's defended titles, moved divisions, and stayed incredibly active throughout his entire UFC run.
Alex, here. I know you said you're interested in a super fight. Can you elaborate on that? Is it the winner of Tom Aspinall and Ciryl-Gane? Or it sounded like maybe before everything happened with Jon Jones in his personal life, you were maybe planning a call out of him.
I'll answer his question, and I'll answer this subject one time. And, I with all the respect I have for the situation, and I've said this in the back, a lot of people try to create a lot of stuff around this. So again, please, with all the respect, I was going to ask for Jon Jones in the White House, but with everything that happened, it's not the right time to talk about it.
And Ciryl-Gane, like who do you think he will win? Is the winner something that interests you?
It's a tough fight. Tom is a complete fighter, but I do feel like he's fought a lot of aggressive guys, and I think Gane is a guy who's going to do a lot of movement. He's going to be a little more cautious and just moving around a lot. It might frustrate Tom. So first, second, third round, maybe Tom can't find Ciryl-Gane, so I think it's going to be a different fight. We'll see. Really don't know. We'll have to see. Obviously my body gets heavier. I don't know how long I can cut to 205, so we're just going to have to see and take it fight by fight.
Alex Poatan Pereira just dropped a massive bombshell that's sending shockwaves through the heavyweight division. The light heavyweight king has a stark warning for Tom Aspinall ahead of UFC 321. Alex Pereira's shocking prediction for the UFC 321 heavyweight title fight between Tom Aspinall and Ciryl-Gane. Poatan didn't hold back, and what he said might just change how you see this matchup. All right, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Alex Pereira, fresh off preparing for his own UFC 320 rematch with Magomed Ankalaev, took time during a media scrum to deliver a prediction that nobody saw coming. But Pereira, he sees something completely different. Through his translator, Poton laid it out clearly. This is going to be a tough night for Tom Aspinall. Here's exactly what he said. It's a tough fight. Tom is a complete fighter, but I do feel like he's fought a lot of aggressive guys, and I think Gane is a guy who's going to do a lot of moving. He's going to be a little more cautious, and that moving around a lot might frustrate Tom.
It's a tough fight, you know. Tom is a complete fighter, but I do feel like he's fought a lot of aggressive guys, and I think Gane is a guy who's going to do a lot of movement. He's going to be a little more cautious and you know, just moving around a lot. It might frustrate Tom.
But wait, it gets even more interesting. Pereira continued. First, second, third round. Maybe Tom can't find Ciryl-Gane. I think it's going to be a different fight.
You know, so first, second, third round, maybe Tom can't find Ciryl-Gane, so I think it's going to be a different fight. We'll see.
One of the most devastating strikers in UFC history is telling us that Tom Aspinall might spend 3 rounds chasing Gane around the octagon without being able to land that signature knockout blow. That's a huge statement, and if that wasn't enough, Alex Pereira took to Twitter to double down on his prediction, sending a direct message to the MMA world. But here's where it gets really interesting. Tom Aspinall himself seems to agree that this won't be a typical fight. In an exclusive interview with Bloody Elbow, Tom Aspinall revealed something that backs up Pereira's prediction. He believes Ciryl-Gane has been working on the holes in his ground game, and he wouldn't be surprised if Gane tries to take him down. Aspinall said, "I wouldn't be surprised if he tried to take me down. It's MMA, so I'm preparing for everything. We've seen that Ciryl has holes in his ground game, but he's improved."
And I think that Ciryl is no exception, but obviously there are some weaknesses in his ground game that we've seen, but I'm sure he's improved. You know what I mean? This is an MMA fight. It can go anywhere, so I'm sure we'll both be ready for anything.
Now that's a plot twist. Everyone remembers Gane being out-wrestled by Francis Ngannou and submitted by Jon Jones in his previous title shots. His ground game has been his Achilles heel, but if Aspinall is preparing for grappling exchanges, that tells us Gane's camp has been cooking up something special. Aspinall continued, "I wouldn't be surprised if we get in a lot of grappling exchanges this time, and I wouldn't be surprised if we have a straight-up stand-up fight either. You've got to be ready for anything in MMA, and I'm preparing for everything." This is the mark of a true champion, respecting your opponent's evolution. Aspinall isn't overlooking Gane. He knows this is his toughest test yet, and he's preparing for every scenario. The question is, will preparation be enough against Gane's elite movement? Tom Aspinall walked into a hostile environment in the French capital, and let me tell you, the Parisian crowd showed up for their hometown hero, Ciryl-Gane. Aspinall tried to kick things off with a simple statement. I mean, there was nobody else to fight, and that's when the boos came raining down. The crowd drowned him out completely.
I mean, there was nobody else to fight.
When they finally let him speak, Aspinall delivered a classic line. "If I hit anybody, I can knock anybody out." Ciryl is no exception. Then he added, "It's rare to see 2 heavyweights our size move like we do. This is the new age of heavyweights."
No, I think that if I hit anybody, I can knock anybody out. It's pretty rare that you see any guys of our size that move like we do. So I think this is really like the new age of the heavyweights.
And Gane? Cool as ice. He simply said, "He's never fought someone like me. I bring something different."
Never fought someone like me though. I bring something very different. I've got my own.
Both fighters are 6'5". Both are mobile. Both are dangerous. But only one can leave Abu Dhabi as champion. So we've heard from Pereira. We've heard from the fighters themselves. But what about the people who train with Aspinall every single day? Martin Boudet, a frequent training partner of Aspinall and part of that heavyweight megacamp that includes longtime KSW champion Phil DeFries, had this to say. "I love Tom Aspinall and like his team, his father, like everyone in that team. I think he will secure like spectacular win and finish in that and like defend the title."
Like I love Tom Aspinall and like his team, his father, like everyone in that team. So I'm really looking up to that fight, and I will be cheering for Tom. I think he will secure like a spectacular win and finish in that and like defend the title.
Now Bude is obviously biased. These are his training partners, his friends. But what's interesting is that even someone in Aspinall's inner circle is predicting a spectacular finish, not necessarily a quick one. Could this be a war that ends dramatically in the later rounds? And here's a fun fact. If Aspinall wins at UFC 321 and Bude captures the Octagon MMA heavyweight belt in his upcoming fight with Will Fleury, Team Aspinall would hold major heavyweight belts across multiple organizations worldwide. Talk about dominance.
Last minute. Last minute.
So, let's break this down. What do we really have here? On one side, you have Tom Aspinall, a 15-3 fighter who's been an absolute wrecking ball, finishing opponents faster than they can blink. He's got power, he's got submission skills, and he's got the heavyweight gold around his waist.
Low kick as well.
On the other side, you have Ciryl-Gane, a 13-2 fighter with some of the best footwork and striking in the heavyweight division. Yes, he's lost 2 title fights, but both were against all-time greats in Ngannou and Jones. And now, he's had time to shore up his weaknesses. Here's what makes this fight so intriguing. Aspinall has been knocking out aggressive, come-forward fighters. But Gane is the opposite. He's elusive, patient, and tactical. Can Aspinall adjust his game to catch a fighter who doesn't want to engage in a firefight? But what do you think? Is Pereira right? Will Gane's movement frustrate Aspinall and take this fight into the championship rounds? Or will Aspinall prove everyone wrong and score another first-round knockout? Drop your predictions in the comments below. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss our latest MMA news and analysis.
Você, Poatan, você está certo. Eu não vou ter nenhuma palavra a dizer, porque você vai acabar dormindo depois que ter que trabalhar na borracharia de novo.
Ah, pode ser, né? Tá vendo? O cara fala besteira. Eu nem tinha visto isso aí, velho. De verdade.
Eu tô ligado.
Pô, juro pelos meus filhos, velho. Não tinha visto. Aí eu fiquei pensando, né, velho? O cara chegar ao ponto de se esconder dentro do PI com medo. Eu achei, não, de verdade, eu achei que, tipo, o UFC ali, pô. E olha só, quando a gente chegou o segurança depois. E aí eu falei, pô, nunca teve isso, velho. Tipo, pô, eu nunca demonstrei que eu queria ter. Eu nunca fiz isso.
De boa,
aí eu fiquei ali na minha. Mas agora eu consigo entender que o cara fala bosta e depois ele. Porque, tipo assim, eu no lugar dele eu falar uma parada, mano, eu vou segurar a parada e vou ficar ali, entendeu? Não vou sair pro cara ficar à vontade aqui, não, entendeu? E, pô, de verdade, eu segurava o BO, entendeu? Mas o ponto de o cara se esconder numa sala, velho, porque. Uma coisa até engraçada que aconteceu ali agora, a saída do PI, né? Eu vi ali o treinador do Ankalaev, eu fiquei ali na minha, mas não vi o Ankalaev. O engraçado foi na hora que eu saí do PI, aí quando eu cheguei no carro, né? Um cara do meu time, né? Tava lá dentro ainda, né? E viu, tipo, a menina do PI falando pro Ankalaev, pode vir, ele já foi embora já. Tipo, porra, escondendo o cara, escondendo o cara na salinha ali, velho. O cara acha que eu vou encontrar ele e vou sair brigando com o cara, velho. Pô, não sou idiota, né, velho?
Mas será que não foi o que ele falou na internet?
Eu não sei o que ele falou, não.
Você, Poatan, você está certo. Eu não vou ter nenhuma palavra a dizer, porque você vai acabar dormindo depois que ter que trabalhar na borracharia de novo.
Pode ser, né? Tá vendo? O cara fala besteira. Eu nem tinha visto isso aí, velho. De verdade.
Eu tô ligado.
Pô, de verdade,
Segurava o BO
eu
ali de
segurava o BO, entendeu? Mas o ponto de o cara se esconder numa sala, velho, porque eu tô no mesmo ambiente, velho. Pô, o cara é um frouxo, velho. Esse é um frouxo. Pô, eu vou ficar na minha ali, entendeu? Eu nunca vou, tipo, arrumar uma confusão com o cara, nunca vou chegar. Lógico, a não ser que o cara venha pra cima, tá ligado? Tá, eu tenho que me defender também, né? Mas aí, tipo, pô, que campeão é esse, velho? Que campeão de merda, velho. Aí, achei a única besteira que eu falei, velho. Mas é um campeão de merda, velho, um cara desse. Mas sabe por quê? Não pelo que ele fala, mas hoje tem que se esconder numa sala,
né?
velho. Demonstrou que é um cagão, velho. Vamos ver. Vamos ver. Porra, se escondendo agora, mas porra, a gente vai estar na jaula lá, velho, trancado lá, velho. Não vai ter. A não ser que ele vai pular a grade, velho. Um campeão de merda, um cara desse, velho. Chama!